Virgin Radio, Style Rock.
Amici di Virgin Radio, oggi siamo qui in compagnia nuovamente dei Green Day. Welcome back, guys.
Oh, thanks for having us.
I'm super happy for the brand new record that is coming out. There are some pretty serious arguments inside that. The very first question is about the evolution of the American dream, not only in the America, but in your perspective, how much that idea affect the rest of the world and the country you probably performed in.
You got any poems? Well, I think the idea is shifting of like on the negative side of it, it's like, you know, because of like the onslaught of social media, I think we've become a much more divided country than we've ever been before. But I do think that there are new things about America that are changing. That's for the better with whether it's like, you know, LGBTQ and trans and also you know, organizations like Black Lives Matter, more diversity and things like that. And I think that that's a positive thing, but I think there's a negative backlash for people that want to see things the old way and are not willing to change. And so, and then you know, and I think like the as far as like a song like "The American Dream Is Killing Me," it's sort of about how you know, there are people that are being left behind in a lot of ways, whether it's the cost of living and homelessness is on the rise, you know, the fentanyl crisis and the things that, you know, us, you know, living in a city, we see these things every single day, and it doesn't seem to be any solutions to it. So, but hopefully in the future there will be.
The last time we met was 2020, right before the pandemic started. You felt like you need these 3 years to, you know, absorb everything that we've been through, like the pandemic, you know, the Black Lives Matter, to actually find the right point of view for the lyrical side of this record?
I think everything was just sort of you know, day by day. Like when I write lyrics, it's usually I'll have an idea for a line for a song or a title for a song, and I'll just write it down and then just stick it in my pocket and just let it marinate. And then eventually, like, I'll have a melody or something like that. So, and then after that, you know, me and Mike and Trey will get together, and then we'll hash out the ideas and the arrangements, and suddenly you'll start to see something evolve, and like in a record that starts to kind of turn. It's like you'll like, okay, now we know what direction that we're going.
On this record, there is a song about fathership, the relation father-son. But the last time we spoke, you said, I want to hope that in the next future, people will be less on their devices, on the phones and stuff. But at the same time, you get songs playing music, and for a certain way, business side, they had to be on devices to promote themselves, or maybe to get awareness on what's going on in the world. So how do you deal with this, you know, information, social media, and this, especially considering the new generations?
Well, I think everything, it's like anything else, it's a double-edged sword. You know, on one hand, yeah, you can keep up with family events and things like that when it comes to social media. At the same time, it could be used for propaganda, and it can be something that's very addictive, like drugs. So I mean, yeah, people do a lot. I do work on my phone, you know, but you know, especially during the pandemic, I think it was really useful for people. But
yeah, I mean, I think people are starting to realize as well what their algorithm is and what they want to follow and the things that they want to invest their time into. We invested our time into writing an album, and Saviors it's a full album. It's a minute. If you take the time to listen to the record, that takes you off your phone, or maybe you're listening to it on your phone, but it's a positive way of using that technology. And I love to follow things that are, you know, I love art. Then when art comes onto my phone, or, you know, things that I think are positive disruptors, I think are really cool things on the phone. And you start to figure out what it is you like to follow, and then more of that comes to you. So,
and also with vinyl records still strong, and we you know, we make albums, we put records out, and I think for me, I like to take a break from my magic rectangle, and you know, sometimes I'll just put it in a drawer for a day and just, you know, go old school and pet the dog, or listen to records, or play with my kids, and, you know, do stuff like that. So it's nice because encyclopedia collection, it is pretty heavy, so it's also good to fact check people who are trying to bullshit you. So, but other than that, you know, take a break from the phone sometimes.
But don't
Listen to Virgin Radio.
That's a great problem. That's a great problem. And during the time off, you decide to work again with Rob. How much does Green Day get from Rob? How much Rob got from Green Day through the years?
Rob has a great knowledge of music, Italian food, and us. So we've worked with him for a long time, and it's, you know, it's good. He's a good motivator. He lets us be us, and he kind of pushes us to be, you know, more us. I don't know. Here.
Yeah, to play above our ability in a lot of ways, you know. Rob has just been someone we were really lucky enough to have a great chemistry with, just like, you know, not only as a producer and band relationship, but also as a friend, and just, you know, he'll, if we're not recording something, we're laughing hysterically about something together, and eating way too much. So, but he's, you know, he's just a great partner. You know, it's something that I think is really rare to have someone that's someone you can work with for over 30 years.
And Chris Lordedge as well. That's a good addition to the chemistry of this whole album. That actually quotes you sometimes, because we heard reminds of, you know, previous recording. It's still a very powered trio, injected radio. It's not just like an album. It's not like overproduced. And this is something that it's, in my opinion, the real Green Day quote each and every time. This, like you said before, it's a record that could be played on the beach and in stadium as well. How do you deal with that energy? Like moving from the power trio atmosphere that were like the Lookout years to today's fact that you also have to deal with stadiums and huge festivals?
I think one thing is, we write the songs, when we write the music, you know, we're in a room together, and we always, you know, when we're playing, we're thinking big, or we're thinking very much about the song, but we rehearse a lot. You know, it's, we rehearse a lot, and we think a lot about the live shows, and we, you know, it's, everything that Green Day does, a lot of thought goes into it.
Talking about these songs in the record, The American Dream was the last one you wrote for the record. The first one was the title track we just discovered, but in between, you were looking for kind of a red string that was putting all the songs together lyrically or sonically, or you just, you know, produced 15 singles.
You know, it's like, making a record, I always kind of think of like a different concept of what I want the record to be. Like there was times where like songs like Look Mono Brains, Coma City, 1981, and where I was like, oh, I just want to play punk rock. I was like, let's just play punk. And then there's other times where I would, you know, I saw like a really great Britpop documentary. It's like, I want to record in London, and I want to like do something different, like, you know, a song like Goodnight Adeline, or Saviors, or, you know, Fancy Sauce, or something like that. And then you sort of get lost in the process, and then eventually by the end, you go, oh, now I feel like this is a cohesive record, and it represents all the sides of what Green Day is. It's like we're not one thing. We're multiple things. And I think it just comes down to like, the first thing is to write really great, honest songs that are vulnerable, that has an opinion, and just like sticks to like who we are as like a 3-piece band. That's something that we've been able to do for the last 30 plus years.
You've always been able to enter the teenage mentality. I guess because you always investigated those kind of feelings, especially the one we all been through the years. What's the secret to get in touch with those kind of feelings? I'm considering probably the fact that you have sons and probably they share their feelings with you. Or is there any other formula that you try to be stuck with to actually write lyrics and songs on that point of view?
Well, I think like writing, the first time I ever like listening to music that really I connected with, I was like, I connected so much of my identity with, and it's like a drug that you're like, oh my God, I love this feeling. And I think that's a feeling that you, as a musician, that you keep chasing down as far as like writing songs. So that is a part of like the probably the teenage connection that I have with like, if I, it's like, a song like Look Ma No Brains makes me want to get into a car and drive as fast as I possibly can and be reckless, and and then there's other songs that I want to put on repeat, like something like Good Night Adeline, where it's just like you want to just cry, and feel and dive and indulge into your own isolation. And then there's songs like America Dream that like makes you want to overthrow the government. So it's just trying to find those moments where it's just all of a sudden that's you like it triggers that like teenage part of yourself. But I just think really it's just the love of music.
I was considering the fact that you've been asked about the Beatles' new song, but at the same time, it's not easy to understand the process that lead us to actually listen to a brand new Beatles songs. If you imagine Green Day within next years creating, artificial intelligence music, maybe your song is taking care of your music. How do you deal with that? I mean, it's great to have a brand new song from the Beatles, but at the same time, it's scary in a way.
Well, we just released the 30th anniversary box set, Dookie, where we have on vinyl some old demos and some 4-track cassette recordings. So not like we're the Beatles, but now you say, no, you guys are like,
no, you are.
Yeah.
More bigger than Jesus.
So we're just like the Beatles, and no music sounds better on Virgin Radio than Green Day. And, that's just, you said it, not me. I'm not going to argue with you, okay?
That's great. That's great, Chris.
Dookie, 30th anniversary, out now.
We did our AI record a long time ago. AI for us means American Idiot.
Now, it's great that you also have time to actually celebrate those kind of moments, but how much those moments influence your re-listening to those songs, and in the perspective of the fact that after this record, there's going to be another record and another record. You're gonna keep on celebrating.
I think you start to appreciate. You definitely look back and appreciate the records and those moments. Like when Trey was talking about, there's certain demos. Like we have a song, 2 songs that were recorded in the Dookie sessions. One was 409 in Your Coffee Maker. The other one was called Christie Road, and we hadn't heard them in like 25 years. And to go back and listen was like, whoa, I forgot we did those. That's amazing. But reaching for when you're reaching that high, that's also the fuel that inspires you to try and write and get there again. So Saviors is definitely a product of those moments.
How much is important to actually stay in the situation? I mean, you're so much connected with your neighborhood, with your area, with the local bands and the local scene. And that's fantastic because it happens if you're in California to actually see Green Day standing on a show. Maybe you were watching Operation Ivy reunion or something like that. How much of that feeling is possible to be added to the business world of stadium rock?
Well, we're bringing Rancid on tour with us next year.
I
so
know.
That's
That's
a chunk
great.
of it right there. No, I mean, I think we just surround yourself with the people and the music that you love and respect, and I think you'll be in a good place. And we just happen to come from a scene that has a lot of people and music that we really loved and respected.
Is there anyone that you actually miss from those beginning days?
That we miss?
Yes.
A lot of the bands, I mean, a lot of the bands are broken up, and some of the people aren't alive anymore. So yeah, I would say so. But again, it's don't take time for granted and reach out to people, and if you can, tour with them.
Okay, our two last question. The first one is about the actually movement that we had from vinyl records again, and then obviously all the other platforms. Which is your first source to listen to music, but also considering producing music for these new platforms? How do you deal with these 30 and more years experiences on producing and listening to music with all these changes that we had?
I think it's always sort of been the same thing, like discovering music. I mean, I really like going on YouTube and finding like different like old power pop that you can't find anywhere, and then I'll go and find it on Discogs or something like that, and then buy like the 7-inch. With like there's like a old band called the Dazzlers, and then another band called the Starjets, and the stuff that you can't find on streaming services. But that's always been, I mean, I've always been sort of a crate digger, whether it's like looking through, going through at a record store and finding something, but I also do the same kind of crate digging, but I do it on my phone, but it's, and you just keep discovering like new great music. And, I think, man, there's a good Italian band called Radio Days.
I love them.
Yeah, like they're, we met those guys the last time we were in Italy, and there's another good band, like a couple of good British bands called Bad Nerves and the Speedways that I really like a lot. So, and then sometimes you just go back and you listen to, like, I love discovering an old song that I haven't heard before. It's like the best feeling. It's like you've dug for like a little nugget of gold or something.
In 1997, I was at Magazzini Generali when you promoted Nimrod for the very first time, and I realized how much important was to get that kind of attitude, even in a small club. Because back in the days, you probably weren't playing stadium in Italy, but you were playing huge venues. So how do you actually keep that kind of energy when you have to translate from like a small venue like the old days and the stadium approach?
Well, I think, when you're playing a stadium, you get your hardcore fans, and then you also get the sort of more casual fans. So it's like, when you're playing stadiums, it's important that like you play songs that everybody recognizes.
But you should also play Christie Road every time.
Yeah.
Please.
And then, but I love playing the small venues because then you can dive deep into. It's kind of like a comedian that will go and do like a big set at like in a really large room, and then test out new material in a small room or something like that. So there's always different venues that I always wanted to play. Like we played Bataclan in Paris the other night. We've never played there before. So or I'll follow different clubs. I go, God, I want to play that place. That place looks so cool. There's some, we have a cover band that like, that there was like this place called, retro junkie that's in the Bay Area that place looks so cool. Like, it'd be fun to just play there. So, and then, and it's like, God, wouldn't it be great to play London Stadium? So we're going to play there too. So we just get the benefit of being able to do a lot of different things and put it in as far as like, the music that we play, we'll put in little gems here and there to kind of like be able to, like, the hardcore fans will be like, even if they even see it on like Instagram or TikTok, they'll go, oh my God, I can't believe they played that song in such a big place. So
That's great. It's always a pleasure to have you here. But guys, so I'm going to wait for the new record to actually come out to see you performing tonight and next summer. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having us. Do you want to say anything about Virgin Radio?
Yeah, the real creme de la creme of radio would have to be Virgin Radio. For me and, everybody that I know, we usually sit around in our underwear and talk about Virgin Radio and what a great honor it is to be on it with you. And let's take our clothes off.
Okay, let's go.
Thank you.
Virgin Radio, Style Rock.